Thank you everybody for joining us today. And I want to thank Airline for coming to us and offering to present some great information about social distancing barriers. They're a company based out of Bensalem, PA. We have Todd, John, and Bill with us today. They will be going through some informational, educational pieces of it and showing you some of their barriers. We will be using the chat feature, but I believe Todd said that he is open. If you wanted to unmute yourself and ask a question during the presentation, that is fine too. But if you feel more comfortable using the chat feature, just use the chat feature at the bottom and they'll be monitoring that as we go along. Again, we are recording this, so we will be sending this out along with all the contact information for Airlines. So if you'd like to reach out to them to talk about their products or what's going on with the industry, they were open for those conversations. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to you, Todd.
All right. Thank you, Hope. Thanks, Eric. And thanks for the PRLA to allowing us this opportunity to speak to your membership. We reached out to the PRLA a little while ago to just let them know that we have actually done some of this work already for some restaurants in and around Pennsylvania, actually most of the Northeast US, and wanted to try to help maybe demystify the topic a little bit and provide everybody with a little bit more confidence and understanding as to what maybe a social distance barrier can look like, can do, how to install them, how they can be used. So here we are to do our best. We're calling this kind of the Ask the Expert presentation. So our plan is to do just a quick overview of what we're talking about, really focus on showing you some examples of existing installations that we've done. And then, at the end of the presentation, open it up for any questions that you may have with respect to this topic. So before I turn it over to the experts, just want to give a quick plug to the company. So Airline Hydraulics is an industrial automation and control company. We're based in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. We are 100% employee owned, and we've been in business since 1949. You may be wondering, why is an industrial automation and hydraulics company talking to you this morning? Well, one of the byproducts of our manufacturing division is materials used for making barriers and guards. Typically, these barriers and guards have been used in more of an industrial space, protecting operators from machinery and equipment. But since the pandemic kind of turned everything on its heels, we have pivoted our infrastructure to designing and manufacturing social distancing barriers for all different types of industries, which leads us here today. So, we do consider ourselves experts in this field of barriers and guards. And, I guess you may ask why. Why are we the experts? We are the experts because of experience, and we really do have we have the experience, we feel, to talk solidly on this topic. So since April, we've installed over 3,000 of these social distancing barriers to all different types of companies, including restaurants and hotels and other similar types of industries. We have a plethora of standard designs that we've installed and put on our website. You see in the top right corner of your screen. But really, where we shine is the concept and the design stage. We can come in, we can help you with a concept, we can do a custom design, we can manufacture that design in very short order, and if necessary, and if possible, we can also come in and help with the installation of those to those topics. So next thing, just real quick, again, quick plug for us. This is a panoramic picture of our manufacturing facility. You see a lot of the barriers and guards sitting there in all different shapes and sizes. Again, this kind of shows our bench strength and our ability and bandwidth to be able to manufacture these in short order and get them out to you, in quick succession. So a real quick introduction to the experts, because I am by no means one of these experts. John is our automation safety general manager. He's been the barrier king and champion for our company for many, many years, and really helped us grow into to where we are today. And Bill, not selling him short by any means, Bill is the brains behind this operation. He is our mechanical engineering manager and is firsthand doing a lot of the design work and helping with the concepts of a lot of these social distancing barriers. So with that said, John and Bill, take it away, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, Todd. The first question we get asked a lot, are there standards for social distancing barriers? And the short answer is yes, there are. So first, the CDC notes that every business should have a barrier between its customers and its employees. So that's a broad, overreaching statement the CDC says, but then we get further into it. We talk about, what's more specific for us. There's local and there's state ordinances that talk about what to do, or at least guidelines. So where we start is we start looking at Pennsylvania. So Governor Wolf said we must provide at least 6 feet between parties at tables or provide physical barriers between the customers where booths are arranged back to back. So for example, with booths, and you kind of can't see it in the picture here, but if you've got booths that are back to back, there's a lot of restaurants that have to put an X on one booth so that you don't have people sitting back to back. So they're every other booth that they're distancing people around. Or we could put a barrier between the booths and now you can fill every booth. And that's what the next part is. It's Governor Wolf encourages people to install physical barriers such as sneeze guards, partitions at the point of sales, at cash registers, at any place where you can't keep 6 feet apart from everybody. So what are the different types of barriers that we produce? So the first is a hanging barrier. So if you don't have a place where you can put something on a counter or a desk or something like that, we make barriers that can hang from the ceiling. The next is a desktop or tabletop barriers, like the picture that you see at a hostess stand. We can put them right on top. They typically just sit on top where they can be screwed down. They can be adhered with double-sided tape or Velcro, so you can remove it easily. Either way, it's something that sits on top of a table or a desk. And then the last style is a freestanding barrier. So the little picture that we show there, this has wheels on it. So you can wheel it around if you need to make it portable. Let's say you have two top tables that you want to put together to make a 4-top for somebody, and you've got a barrier in between the two tops. Well, now you can easily just wheel it out of the way, put the tables together, and you can use that barrier in another place. So they can come with or without wheels, but they're typically freestanding on the floor. So you got ceiling hanging ones, you've got ones that sit on top of something, and you've got ones that sit on the floor.
The one thing I'd like to add to that, Bill, is that we'll get into our selection of what we have that's off the shelf. It's already pre-engineered and we could ship immediately to you. Is most customers like, oh, this is great, but can you make it 6 inches longer? Can you make it, a foot higher? And we'll get into that, but there's very few of them. The concept stays the same, but because of our infrastructure, we can pivot the dime and get a custom one built and designed to you in a week or two. So
good. Yeah. So when we're thinking about helping you design a barrier or put a barrier in your restaurant or hotel or whatever your place of business is, here's some of the things that we consider. So the first is its application. So what's its purpose and where will it be used? Is it going to be in front of a customer? Is it going to be protecting employees from one another? It will be sitting on a desk. Will it be freestanding? So that's the type of application. Where will it be? Then we look at the size, the height, the width of it. So with the application, will somebody be standing in front of it? Or will the barrier be separating 2 people sitting down? So the height of that is in consideration. So we typically want to make something at least 6 feet high to protect taller people, correct? And the width, where will it be? Does it have to cover a table? Does it have to cover a booth? Things like that. Like the old real estate adage, right? Location, location, location. Where will it be? Will it be impeding anybody? Will it be impeding any means of egress in case there's a fire or anything like that? So we got to think about that as well. How's it going to be supported? Will it be freestanding? Does it sit on a desk? Does it need something extra to it? What's its appearance? Will it be facing the customer? Does it need to be silver? Does it need to be black? We typically provide clear polycarbonate for the panels. Some people have asked us for frosted panels so that you can't see through it, and it gives some people some privacy. And then what's its functionality? What's the main purpose of it? So like if we look at the picture that's here, in the very front here, we have a solid panel, and towards the back left, you can see the panels are raised, and that way the bartender behind this bar can pass drinks and food to the customer sitting out front. So that's what we mean by functionality of it. So we'll get into some application examples here. I think this is where we can explain the purpose of them a little bit more, give you some ideas on what you could use in your places of operation. So I'll let John start with this one.
Yeah, so it's interesting. This is New York City. They have many boutique hotels and restaurants up there. And this is one called Dreams. And we did 3 boutique hotel restaurants up there since this. So the cool thing is, I mean, we didn't have to travel to this site. And they didn't want us in and we didn't want to go in. So our process was, we asked them to take photographs of where you want the barriers, and we had them verify certain measurements and understood what their need was. And then we created the CAD drawings, which they approved, and then we built this. So there was probably about 32 different funky designs we did for this boutique hotel Dreams. So that was the concierge area and the check-in area. Okay. I think we continue on this one here. I told you there were some funky designs. This is at the same facility at their bar, and that is not a photograph that's fabricated at all. That's exactly what it looks like. It's kind of wild. But our challenge here was trying to get a radius. So once again, we weren't able to go in and take measurements. So we had created from a photograph what we believe was there, and then we had them take tape measurements and verify that. And I was a little concerned that the radius wouldn't match up exactly with what they wanted. And believe me, they really it fit well. They said, well, here's a testimonial from the fellow that we were working with at that point. You could read that, but we exceeded their expectations. And even now, Bill and I are working at, they have a lower area, I'll call it a dungeon, but it's really, they have a really funky area down below that we're working with them presently. So I didn't even know boutique hotels and restaurants even existed until this.
Yeah, so this is some barriers that we did for Temple University, their food court down in Philadelphia. The picture on the left is a little bit hard to see. Maybe the picture on the right is a little bit easier. But I don't know if you can see these hanging guards that we have nylon cords hanging these things from the ceiling. So Chick-fil-A came to us and Temple came to us and said, hey, can you give us some barriers for here? And as you can see, that their countertop is pretty busy. So we didn't want to put anything on the countertop because it prevents people from passing the food back and forth and with everything else that's on there. So we decided to put hanging barriers there. So the barriers can be cleaned really easy. Their countertop is now the way it was before, and they can clean the countertop easy when they're done. And if they ever need to remove these barriers, it's really easy. There's no modifications to their countertops. Everything's just hanging from the ceiling. So it's really easy. On the left, you can see basically the same thing. If you can see these little nylon cords hanging here. So you've got the basic sneeze guard that you normally would here, but now we've got hanging guards to protect the employees from the customers and vice versa.
And they're very competitive price-wise too.
So this is just another view of that same picture with the hanging guards, with the testimonial from here. John, do you want to talk about the installation process?
Yeah, the challenge here was, they were waiting to say, are we going to bring the kids back to Temple or not? And then when they finally get the green light, they were in a panic situation. They're like, geez, I have to have these built and installed by, it was like 6 days from that point. So we were able to knock, I think it was 54 different barriers, not just the hanging ones. The majority were hanging, but there was also mobile carts and stuff like that we built for them. But they had no means, no infrastructure to actually go and install that. So I know we wrapped everything up in our shop in 3 or 4 days. And then that Saturday morning, we arrived at Temple around 6 a.m. And then we worked till about 4 p.m. But by the time we left that day, everything was installed and ready for the students to arrive on that Monday. So we're very flexible. And going back, what Todd was saying, working with industry and production environments, sometimes their production environments, our normal customers are, my machine goes down at 8 p.m. and it goes back up at 6 a.m. So we have to work crazy hours to not impact production. And this was kind of similar. They gave us a few hours on a Saturday to install them all. Yeah, so we actually built them, we transported them all, and 3 of our technicians went and installed them all on that Saturday. And Nicholas was very happy.
Yep. So here's a barrier we did for the crow's nest up in Rhode Island. And same thing, they came to us and they said, hey, we have an idea. Can you help us design something to protect the patrons and the bartender? So we've got this concept. So again, what's this functionality? So it's to protect people, but still allow drinks and food to pass underneath. So you can see the before and after pictures. And so we designed a barrier that sits on top of the bar. So it has some short legs here to keep it stable. But this is also mounted on top of the bar using Velcro. So if they ever need to remove it for whatever reason, maybe do maintenance behind the bar or restock it or just do some cleaning, it comes off really easy. So we take that into consideration when we do things like this as well.
And I do want to add that airline, we go from Maine down to Richmond, Virginia, from the coast out to Pittsburgh. We're based obviously in Pennsylvania, but this restaurant, they had no people either. So our Rhode Island branch, Joe Livesley and Joe Henwood, they went and actually installed this. So we have people that would install any of our barriers from Erie, PA to Pittsburgh to Harrisburg to Scranton, and obviously down in the Philly area. But and we extend that through the whole Northeast, that service.
So here's a restaurant called the Apollo Grill. They're in Bethlehem. So they came to us and they said, okay, we need help trying to get to 50% capacity. So one of the things that Governor Wolf has on the website says, you can measure restaurant capacity one of 2 ways. You have to either spread all your tables out and have them 6 feet apart, or you can put up barriers in between and try and get your capacity up to 50%. So Apollo Grill needed to get their capacity up to 50%. So the only way to do that was to put barriers in between the booths and barriers between the tables. Otherwise, they would have to space everything further apart and they couldn't even get anywhere close to 50%. So they came to us and they saw we have a booth barrier on our website, and we have some standard sizes for that. We have some standard sizes for these as well. But they wanted something a little bit different. So that's where our design team came in and we measured up the booth size for them. We came up with a custom size for this as well as the hostess stand. So we have standard sizes on our website, but then we customize for places like this. So the Apollo Grill came to us, and typically we will have just a horizontal leg on the barrier here to keep it stable, or a flat steel plate, so it's not necessarily a tripping hazard. Well, they want it to be something a little bit more visual for people to see, so they won't trip on it. So they asked us if we could add these little triangle pieces on there to keep it stable. So as you can see, by us adding these barriers, they could move these tables a little bit closer together. I think they're closer together now. They don't show it in the picture. And they're able to get more tables and more seating in this area of the restaurant, as well as the booths. like I said at the beginning, a lot of restaurants that I know I've been to, you'll sit people at one booth, they'll have an X on another booth where nobody can sit. So it's every other booth. Now with this barrier, they can sit at every booth and get more patrons in there.
The one thing I'll add with Apollo, and this booth barrier is pretty popular with restaurants, is how do you mount it, right? So we have customers taking that back vertical leg and mounting it to the vertical wall there, the back wall. They didn't want that. So what we added was a plate, like a 1/4-inch plate of aluminum, and we went down to the side of the booth. Typically we can attach it there. We can attach it on the far side. We can put Velcro, we can mount it to the wall. And that's where these photographs, when we ask people, just take a photograph of your area, send it in, and let's use our experience and suggestions on what's the best way of attaching it. So this particular restaurant wanted to attach it the way we
Yeah, so we don't show pictures of it here, but we just did some recently for the restaurant down at Rivers Casino in Philadelphia, and they wanted some bar barriers as well. And their booths are beautiful. They didn't want to screw anything into the booths. So how we attached this with a plate on the side, they couldn't do that. So we just sat the barrier on top of the booth. They had a wooden top, and we just put some Velcro on there, and they were able to put one screw into a wall here. So that was able to keep it stable. So depending on what people's booths look like, we can accommodate them to do a variety of different mounting methods.
There was, Bill, I forget who it was. We talked to so many people, but that that front wall goes flush with the booth right there. There was a fellow recently wanted that in a couple inches, so it would be less likely to be hit by somebody's elbow. You know, if you bring that in a couple inches.
Yeah. So what we did was we took this vertical part, just moved it in a little bit, so that as the waiter walked by or anybody standing up wouldn't bump it. So we just jogged our mounting surface to accommodate that. So we're very flexible with how to do it. Here is a bar called O'Neill's Pub down in Philadelphia. These are some barriers that we made specifically for them. And you can see these on our website, but these are nice because they're not mounted to anything. You can see these are a little bit different. They have a smooth surface on the side here. They've got a plexiglass panel and a little weighted surface here with rubber underneath. And what that does, that weight and this rubber surface holds this in place. So you can see in this picture here, if there's one patron sitting at this stool and another one at this stool, we can put barriers in between them. Let's say that they're husband and wife, they can just literally pick this up, and I think it weighs about 5 or 6 pounds. Pick it up, put it down to the side, or move it to somewhere else on the bar. The other beauty about this is if these two people don't know each other, then this plexiglass part actually slides out. So there's some slides on here. They're on the far side, so you can't see them here. So they slide out to protect the people when they're sitting back from one another. So if they're leaning forward, they can protect, or you just grab it and you pull it forward and it protects them. So it's another custom barrier that we're doing for bars that, you know, we think is going to be very popular and help people get, when we are able to sit at bars again, at least in Philadelphia, be able to have people sit there and still be protected.
And we have them in inventory right now, waiting for the green light for people to be able to sit at bars.
And every restaurant and bar has a bathroom, right? Or at least we hope they do. So, you know, a lot of urinal barriers on the right there, they only go up maybe 4 feet high off the ground. So we make these to extend further up, maybe about 6 feet up, as well as sink barriers. So two people can be washing their hands and still be protected from one another.
So besides restaurants and hotels, we service schools, industry, manufacturing. And here's just some. The top left is a little luncheonette place where people go in and order their sandwiches. And there's two barriers there, one at the cash register. And the other one is above those potato chip bags to the top ceiling there. That's where they make their sandwiches and hamburgers, we have a barrier go that whole length. So besides making customers feel comfortable when they walk in, it really helped the people who work at this company. They feel like my company, my little restaurant that I work at, or my little deli, they feel something for me. They care about me. The one cool thing there is it was a tight area to the left there. You see those angled pieces of extrusion there. We only have one vertical leg going there, and then on the opposite side, there's two vertical legs. And because we knew that was going to be a tripping hazard, we kind of just we braced it. It sounds simple enough, but how many people were going to trip over those further quarter posts? We eliminated that tripping point by doing that. But anyway, so that was one. And then down below is offices. When this whole thing started, people wanted to bring their, I think our first customer was in Newtown Square, and they had a nursing company. They ran out nurses, and they wanted to bring their customers or their coworkers back in, but they wanted to do something. So the cool thing there, Bill came up with a really slick design where you have these office barriers that are existing, and all we did is we came up with a method that could slide over top. You could barely see them there. I don't know if you could take your cursor, Bill, there and show them your little, say, upside down U brackets. And that was enough to pinch that wall and give a barrier so when people walked in and out. And then at the front area, there's a pass through there too. The top, in the middle, top middle, that's a drugstore in, I think that's out in New Jersey. That's outside of Philadelphia somewhere. Where is it?
In Bristol.
In Bristol, PA. Yeah. So that was one of our electrical engineers. That's where he goes, and he was talking to them. And we enabled, there's 330 people approximately at Airline. Everyone became a salesperson. So if you went to a restaurant, if you went to a drugstore, if you went to anywhere, we gave everybody business cards. And it was amazing. You get 330 people just spreading the good news. And so that's what this happened. So we did drugstore there. To the right of that, Germantown Academy, they were bringing their students back, and that's their lunch area. So we probably built 350 barriers for Germantown Academy and at the teacher's desk and the cafeteria area. Down below was St. Genevieve's in Flowertown, PA. That's a teacher's desk. You can see the top horizontal members not there for visibility. So as a teacher standing up, she's not looking at a piece of aluminum in front of her. It's just at the desk area. It's not 4 feet above that. And then the rendering. So we always start with, if somebody's got an idea, they're toasting lettuce there in the middle there. Our design team will come up with concepts like that and communicate to our customers, is this what you're talking about? So you get a good visual before anything's made.
Yeah, so I think one of the things I want to get across, just showing all these different examples here, is a couple things. Number one, we've seen a lot. We've got a lot of different variety. So not only in different industries, whether they be office environments, food, retail, in schools, we've seen a lot. We know how to protect people. And we're hoping that, by showing you things like this, it stimulates ideas with you on how you can protect your people, your employees, your customers. So
I know Todd touched on it. Since 1991, we've been building guards. We've been keeping people safe, workers safe from the machinery they're working in for the last 30 years. So it was an easy pivot for us to make people safe in this environment, where we would go in and design mechanical guarding around a bottling machine for Nestle Waters, the Poland Springs. We've done millions of dollars of that. So we got to get really creative to keep a production environment OSHA compliant, the operators being able to still do their jobs efficiently and still keep them safe. So that's why, in a way, we're so-called experts, because that's what we've been doing for the last 3 decades. Anything else, Bill?
No, so here's a couple of flyers. We've recently been doing a lot of barriers for casinos, both upstate Pennsylvania and New York. And then we've got another brochure here for social distancing for restaurants. So, you know, if you need help, if you have questions, like I said, we've basically seen it all. I don't think there's anything that we haven't done yet. So we can help keep you safe.
So the best way of getting a hold of us is that top right-hand area where our website is, or that phone number down below.
Yeah, so if you go on our website, and not to make it sound too salesy, but there's a lot of barriers that you can just purchase from our website. But if you don't need that, you have a unique situation, or like John was saying earlier, hey, I see something on your website. It is 48 inches wide. I need it 53.5 inches wide, or something like that. That's where our engineering, that's where our design team comes in. So you can see there's one of John's sketches, top center of it. So it went from a sketch in a conversation with the customer to a little rendering so we could show the customer what it looks like, to a drawing that our manufacturing can make it, and we delivered it to the customer. So something like this probably take a week to 2 weeks, start to finish, to get to you. We have had instances where they needed it even faster than that, and we've delivered. So let us know what your needs are, what the application is, and we can definitely help you. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, please feel free to type the questions in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask our team.
Here's one here. Does adding a barrier affect the fire rating and sprinkler system? What materials, I guess you use? You want to go with that, Bill?
Yeah. So, you know, when we talk about a sprinkler system, there's codes that you have to be so far away from the sprinklers horizontally and vertically. So we look at that. If you come to us and say, hey, I need something that's 7 feet tall and your ceilings are only maybe 7.5 or 8 feet tall, then, you know, we'll take that into consideration and maybe talk to you about a different design for that. So we've got to look at codes for that. As far as materials go, we only use polycarbonate, which is also called Lexan. So Lexan is like the Kleenex version of plastic. That's what everybody knows polycarbonate of. So we use Lexan, which is polycarbonate. Like I said, we don't use acrylic, because acrylic is flammable, and we don't use plexiglass. So plexiglass is what a lot of people call this stuff. And I know I said it a little bit earlier, but we do use Lexan because that's not flammable. So we have taken that into consideration because states like New York, they have posted memos previously about, hey, if you put anything in schools or whatnot, it can't be flammable. So we've done a lot of these in schools where say it's going in a chemistry lab. So in a chemistry lab, you've got a Bunsen burner. So you've got to take that into consideration as well. So you don't want to add to any problems that anybody might have. So
yeah, you can't use acrylic. And the one thing on that, that the question that the person had there was, we had to be 18 inches from the ceiling. So yeah, they wanted it to be 7.5 foot. And then when we looked into the local standards, we had to be 18 inches off it. So if a sprinkler does trip, then you want to be able to get that water and take care of the fire. So we're familiar with those needs. So here's another one. Great. Whoops. I don't know how you get that back. I don't even know what it said.
From MG to everyone. Great company at O'Neill's Pub here. We love the booth barriers you designed and we installed. Thanks very much.
Oh, that's Molly from O'Neill's Pub. Thank you, Molly, for that. She's on South Street. So go have a beer with her.
So, you know, one of the questions we get asked a lot is how do we clean it? How do we clean these barriers?
That's a great question. We've had customers clean them with Windex, and they come back and say, hey, it's all scratched up, it's all foggy. As well, every barrier goes out of our facility. We scotch tape a way of cleaning it. And basically, you use a warm, lukewarm water with soapy, like Dove or some type of, hand soap like that, and then you pat it dry with you blot it dry. So that's all you need. You don't need anything special. And we're talking plastic, polycarbonate panels. So, and then they often, it's interesting. Usually they do it in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. But we, like Molly, for instance, I think they do it 2 or 3 times during the day at their restaurant. So it's challenging in office environments and maybe even restaurants too, because that communication doesn't go to the cleaning people that they hire that come in at night. So they're using chemicals they shouldn't be using on this material. So you have to make sure anybody who cleans this stuff, not just the people who work there, but the contractors that might come in, that they're aware that this is the proper method of cleaning.
So any other questions for the experts? Give another, there we go. Is there any prep work that needs accomplished before social distancing barriers are installed? Furniture moved, anything cleaned, etc.
Yeah, so we're shipping these barriers, assuming people have a loading dock. Some of them, they're buying 50 or 100 of these things, and they don't have a loading dock. So you have to have a place that when we ship it there, you have to have people, the location to unload, and then you have to have means of getting it from that area. Maybe like we did some dentist offices in Baltimore, and like the guy was on the 3rd floor and he had no clue on how to get it from there. They didn't even have a loading dock. So anyway, so we actually sent somebody, one of our Baltimore people there, to help them uncrate it and get it into their dentist office. So it's, the main thing is you got to kind of map that out in your mind. How am I going to get it from point A to point B and to put it in place? So I hope that we're helping people.
No, I think you definitely are. I appreciate you guys coming on and giving us information. And then us having this as a recording for future reference for individuals that may not have been able to get on the call today. And, as always, we will share your contact information with the individuals that registered. So if you don't feel comfortable asking a question right now, you can reach out to these individuals and ask them questions on the side, after this presentation. I think our last one was thank you. And I really appreciate John, Bill, and Todd for you guys getting on and doing this presentation for us and giving us this information. And with that, I think our webinar is concluded. I think we are done.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we will be sending this out in the next, later today or tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Bill.